I'm Marci Caputo with New Construction Market Experts.
Erin Smiley, New Construction Market Experts. And
I'm Tony Marnella with Marnella Homes.
All right, welcome, Tony.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And, we have folks that inquire, tell me about green homes. And that's what you get to do in this Portland metro area. And it is just, with us talking, it's just this haze of what does that really mean? So what does a greenhouse mean? Is it certified? Is it rated? What are the levels?
Yeah, so it's very ambiguous in the marketplace. And the term is greenwashing, which means that anyone can say that their home is green by increasing insulation, adding a higher efficiency, HVAC system. And it really means nothing in the big picture of things unless the home has been certified. And so we certify 100% of our homes, not only to keep us accountable, because the reputable certification programs require best practices throughout the course of the construction.
Mm-hmm.
And having a verifier on board, it not only energy models the home up front, they inspect the home during construction for air sealing, duct testing, and insulation quality.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple ways to insulate, and there's a very high standard for that. And then at the very end, they test it. And they have to account that all of these measures have been managed throughout the course of construction. And they're also responsible to prepare deficiency reports if anything is identified. So should we get those, and we get those on occasions, we send them to the trades responsible, and we'll stop construction.
Come back in, fellas.
Until those things are done before we can close up.
Who's doing the certification?
So we work with a company here locally called ICS Inspectors. And the verifier that we're using, Jacob, we've actually followed him from a couple different companies, because even the builders that are having their homes blower door tested at that final stage, the majority of them just want to make sure that they passed.
They passed the minimum.
They don't care where they leaked, how they can improve. I've specifically followed Jacob around because he knows how important us elevating our home performance is. He knows that I'm willing to hear that criticism or that critiquing, because the homes we're building today are better than the homes last year and the year before that.
Oh, yeah.
And the homes I build next year will be better than the homes, because we're constantly trying to raise that bar. And code has such a low bar that most builders are like, did we pass? Okay, cool. Let's move on.
Next.
And it's just a different North Star, I guess, to put it differently. We want to keep raising that bar, and the majority of the industry is like, the bar's fine. Our homes are selling. Nobody cares. The reality is people do care when they understand the why. And so one of the things we've really been trying to do is create that information, be kind of a thought leader in that sense, in educating people on why this is important, because most people don't know what they don't know.
Well, and it's going to add some expense to the build. But long term, I would imagine, it's going to save you. But of course, that right out of the gate, that your home is going to be more than likely a little bit more expensive because of these systems that you're putting in place.
Yeah, so it will be more, but it's typically in the 2 to 3% on the overall cost of the home more. But one of the things that we've repeatedly talked about is you're also paying more for healthy grass-fed beef. You're paying more for organic pasture raised chickens. And so you have to determine where's your value proposition.
Yeah.
And if living in a healthy home, which it's difficult, I feel, to put a place of value on your health and wellness, something that you're existing in 24/7. And if that healthy environment, which we're building an environment, is of value, then that is really negligible in the big cost of your health experience. And so green is something that I know is a popular term, but we focus more on the health and wellness aspect of it above all things. So that's the driver. I don't even like using green. I like to just say, we're health and wellness focused and performance focused, because that's really the essence of what this is. You can tag it as green. And I know in the real estate community, they've got the green awareness and badging you can get from one of the local groups. But big picture, it's what is that environment that we've assembled providing for those homeowners?
Well, and in my 20s, I was eating Twinkies and going to Burgerville, and then I get older, and guess what? That's not good diet for you. And so I went on a nutrition adventure, as I like to call it, which again is helping you live longer, live better. Your home is really, that's your safe spot. And we spend a lot of time, especially now we're working remotely. And, I get where it's important to be able to think about, okay, what's happening in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's this misconception too with new homes that I've encountered now a handful of times with people, is the assumption is if it's new, therefore it must be healthy. The ducting is brand new, the equipment's brand new, the water lines are brand new. And actually, if it's built to basic standards, in a lot of cases, it may be no more healthy. In fact, it could be less healthy than the home that you're moving from. And we've really tried to educate and communicate that message, is whether it's a $4 million home or it's a $400,000 home, if it's assembled at bare minimum, it could be a toxic environment. We've actually had, I did an interview with a doctor out of Florida who had a similar experience to a comment on one of our YouTube videos, where a gentleman had commented his business partner had just completed an over $4 million home, and in 6 months was hospitalized with respiratory issues because of mold. And she chimed in to talk to me about a very similar experience with her husband. And federal guidelines had the mold content in her home as standard, acceptable. And finally, one of her peers said, "Do not go home." Called this guy.
Yeah.
And it was someone specific. He went out. He acknowledged, yes, it's below federal standards, but any standard is too high for black mold.
Yeah.
He completely sterilized their home, their ductwork, all that kind of stuff. And the next morning, her husband's symptoms were gone. And so that $4 million home versus her home versus something lower, if none of these aspects are being acknowledged, you're just moving from one toxic environment to another toxic environment. And our industry is basically focused on speed, completion, and sale. What happens after those homeowners move in is really not part of that equation. And we try to think through, how are they going to live in that home? What is that environment going to be? And my wife had asked me one time, she goes, "Why do you do what you do?" And I related it to my real estate world. When there is nothing more heartwarming when you hand over the keys to that first-time home buyer and they're giddy and they're excited, and you walk away from that going, "Wow, I had a role in that." And I feel the more I kind of, granulated over that, I realized it's really kind of the same philosophy I have in building homes. Is in my little role, I'm involved in creating an environment for memories and their livability and their health and wellness in my little way. And it's rewarding in that. So if that's the ethos behind it, thinking through that health and wellness aspect is extremely important.
Well, health and wellness is huge right now. I mean, which is such a good thing. I mean, people are looking more closely at their food and now their homes. So I'm wondering, that certification that you're talking about, and that obviously, people just stamp a green. And I think everybody's starting to see that too and read through it. So how do you know when you've got the real certification? How does somebody know that they're getting the actual health that they're looking for?
And that is super important because some certifications allow the builder and the trades to self-verify their own work. And I'm sure in school we would have loved to grade our own papers,
Sure.
But in the reality, having a third party independent of the builder is where that credibility lies. So we work with Wellness Within Our Walls, Your Walls, which is a new program we've adopted. They're more focused on the health and wellness aspect. We still have to follow all the best practices of NGBS, which is National Green Building Standard, or DOZER, which is the Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready home. And so they really have to ask those questions. The old saying goes, ask better questions, you get better outcomes.
Sounds like a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is. And so we've actually created, I think you had mentioned, you saw our ebook. We have at the very back just questions that we feel are super important to be asking. Who's doing the verifying? If the builder can't answer that anybody's doing the verifying, that's a pretty quick answer. If the answer is, well, our trades are doing it, or we're just making sure that we're getting their verifications, that doesn't give any confidence either. Because in fact, the insulation company that we work with right now, they offer to fill the paperwork out for us, which includes them verifying their own work.
So nice.
I love working with them. They do great work. But I also realize that if their tech is got to hurry to get to their daughter's soccer game or a recital, that can get the critical eye is not going to be there versus Jacob.
They're human. Yeah.
They're human.
Yeah.
So it's not to be disparaging or make assumptions of anyone. However, Jacob walks in and he's looking at things very critical. Is insulation at an A+ level or is it not?
Oh.
Is the duct testing performing correctly or is it not? And we've had heated debates with HVAC contractors telling us they've met best practices, and we point out you clearly haven't. And they're trusting their crews. If their crews say that they've done it correctly, or the foreman walks through just to inspect and he's doing a quick walk around, he's got to get to another job, that stuff just happens. So if they're asking these questions, which we strongly encourage, whether it's with us or anybody, how is the verification handled? Do you certify? At the end of the day, if there's no certification at all, that's their answer.
Well, we're a big believer in a third-party inspection and everything because we believe, it's not that someone necessarily made a mistake on purpose, but things get missed if you don't have someone else looking at it. So